Hi creative friends, this is Sreya and thank you so much for being here. So I allowed this to completely dry and thankfully the weather is pretty good outside, so I don't have to turn on my art lights, and I just want to bring this up closer so you can just look and see like some of the beautiful stuff that's going on. Now I know it looks garish, but we're not going to focus on that right now. So before I dive right in here, I just wanted to bring a few concepts to the fore. So I know for me personally, if I get too many things coming at me, I don't like assimilate that well into my knowledge base. Like I need to take like concepts into bite-sized little bits. So I'm gonna try not to put and talk about too many different things in this video. And even in this series, I try to kind of introduce like a few concepts at one time. So the very first thing is the push and pull, and the push is generally speaking a cool color, and the pull, the part that protrudes from the face that you want to pull into space in front of the page, so you kind of want to pull that out of the page. We generally tend to use warmer colors, and also with that, the warm is generally lighter colors, and the cool is generally darker colors. So these are just general rules. Now I'm going to introduce two other concepts that I think are really helpful. So the other concept I want to introduce is, generally speaking, we work from dark to light. Like you want to look at the dark as the like most of what is going to be on the page, and then you want to like pull out the light parts. So, you know, your highlights are going to be, you're going to use them minimally. And actually, when you use a little bit of light and you juxtaposition that against a lot of darks, that light is going to have more weight. It's going to have more visual weight. It's going to stand out more. The other thing I want to talk about is, generally speaking, I know in another video I said that everything is made up of shapes, like everything, like whether you're painting a tree, a bowl, a still life, a portrait, whatever. Everything is made up of shapes, and a lot of times, most times actually, there are smaller shapes inside of the larger shapes. So basically how we work with that is we paint the larger shapes first, and then we paint the smaller shapes inside of the larger shapes. So for this particular video, I'm going to be talking about the push, pull, cool, warm, and then how we work from dark to light, and then how we also work from larger shapes to smaller shapes. So I hope that's not too much. And as just an aside, I just wanted to show you guys that this is going to be another video, but I discovered all of these gorgeous inks, and I've had these for years, but I am going to use them in another video. But these are just amazing. The colors are so delicious. Now these here are the Adirondack brand, and they, you know, they're artist inks, they're acid free, and I have like a lot of delicious colors. And I also have a few of the distress inks by Tim Holtz. Now these are archival, they're waterproof, etc, etc. So I'm just going to move that off to the side, but I don't want to use them for this particular spread. So like I said, I know that this is really garish. It's looking like very disjointed, but what I am going more for is, at this stage, I'm going for the energy. I'm going for the you know, the larger shapes. So what I mean is, I'm not really looking at a lot of details. And if I retain a lot of these, say, you know, these beautiful like color fields over here, even though it's going to be the white of the eye, that's going to just add so much delicious variations in the colors, and it's just going to give it depth. So I'm just going to dive right in. I'm going to try not to go off topic too much, and I'm just going to stick to kind of what I was talking about. So over here now, what I want to do is, I do want to give her some hair, and And I don't want to like, you know, get too kind of detailed with stuff. Certainly not in this video. So I think I'm gonna go with some of my blue here. And this is a Prussian blue. Now, I am gonna make another video on color, and you guys, I am a beginner in color. Like, I'm always trying to learn, but the more I learn, the more I realize like how little I know. And while I work here, I'm just gonna talk about two different artists who both worked equally hard at color, but one artist was, most historians will agree, extremely gifted in color, and another artist, by his own admission, was not gifted at all and had to struggle with color, but worked hard at it and became a master of color nonetheless. So the two artists I am going to talk about are Vincent van Gogh and Cézanne. So Van Gogh, by all accounts, I mean, there are a few art historians that say that he had a color disorder, you know, with his eye, and it caused him to see too much yellow, etc., etc. But most art historians will agree that Van Gogh was very gifted with color, at color. That being said, he was completely obsessed with color. He meticulously studied it. He went out of his way to learn about different colors, and he would use 3, 4, 5, 6, however many different colors in the same color, just so he could get what he wanted. And we know a lot about how he worked because of all his letters to Theo, thankfully. That they have been preserved. So that gives us a lot of information about how he worked, what he was doing, how he thought about things, etc. Now Cézanne, he really struggled a lot with color, and he was very interested particularly in grays. And I have to tell you guys, I visited his studio in Aix-en-Provence. I'm probably not saying that correctly. But I stood in front of his studio walls, and I think I died right there. He meticulously mixed the grays for his walls because he wanted them to be a pure neutral color, because he didn't want any of the colors from the walls affecting how he perceived color when he was painting his still lifes. So, you know, that just gives you an idea of how obsessive he was. He also replaced his floors in his studio to pure wood. So he just didn't want any reflections on his still lifes that were going to affect how he saw the colors. So I guess the moral of this story is, regardless of whether you're gifted or not, like, everybody works hard at color. And yeah, it's just a constant work in progress. But I'm gonna make another video about color because it is so important. And each color has a warm and a cool of it, like a few, not just one. So like, say red, my favorite cool red is alizarin crimson, and a warm red is the cad red light, which is also another one of my favorites. And it's got a very orangey kind of an undertone. So basically a hack, I guess, like just a way to more easily identify whether a color is cool or warm is if you look at the undertones. If it's got a blue, green, or like a violet undertone, then it's cool. It's a cool color, regardless of, like, even, so say yellow is a warm color, but if there is a yellow that has a cool undertone, then it becomes a cool yellow. And it's the same for all colors. There are, you know, many different cools and warms of each color. So I don't want to get too complicated, you guys, about things, because that can, I know, like, be overwhelming, and I can get overwhelmed as well, because like I said, I am still, like, I'm learning, like, you know, I mean, there are artists who devote their entire lives to color. And yeah, and it's a worthy pursuit because color affects everything in your art. And even like if you look at paintings, like say Cezanne, for instance, there are a lot of his paintings where, you know, they're so neutral that it seems like he didn't use a lot of color. But I guarantee you that he used a ton of colors. And that's, to me anyways, the mark of a true master is when it just looks so, I don't want to say simple, but it looks like, oh, he didn't use that many colors, when actually he, you know, if you had to try to replicate that, it would be like impossible. Yeah, so anyways, so you guys, I'm just kind of like putting in you know, just different kind of layers here. And what I'm gonna do is I am going to I'm gonna like do the background here. Also, you guys, if you would if you have any ideas for videos, I would really appreciate hearing them, because I'm kind of wondering, you know, like I write down, like I brainstorm about what videos to make. And sometimes I just do things on the fly, like I go, oh, I'm just, you know, doing this, and one thing leads to another, and then I get interested in it and I make a video. But I also like brainstorm a lot about different videos to make. So if you guys have any ideas or questions or whatever, I would really appreciate it if you would, you know, just let me know, and that way I can make a video. And I know somebody wanted me to make a video on noses, so I am gonna do that. But yeah, I would really appreciate that, so thank you so much. And I'm just gonna kind of drag this in here because I want to just kind of neutralize this here so that the face really kind of stands out. And so let me see, where is my burnt sienna ink here? I'm just gonna start adding like some like burnt sienna ink to a few of the places on the face. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of making like shapes. And remember what I said about how you do the large shapes first, and then, you know, inside of the large shapes, you have smaller shapes. So I'm just kind of building up some shapes here. And I'm still learning. I'm a beginner learner in skin tones, you guys. I mean, there's so much to learn, and the more I learn, the more I'm like, oh my God, it can get overwhelming. So what I tend to do is I just kind of try to use colors that naturally appeal to me. And I've talked about this before as well. Like if you use makeup, you know, you kind of know instinctively like where to add certain colors and values by how you apply your makeup. But I mean, even if you don't wear makeup, I mean, you can run your fingers over your face. So I'm just adding like all these different colors. And like I said, you guys, I know it looks garish, but I would rather have like a lot of life in my spread than, you know, to have it look lifeless and flat. So I'm starting to also look at color and line, etc., as energy, and to kind of look at it more like, hey, what kind of energy does this bring onto the page, rather than looking at it purely from a visual point of view. So I hope I'm making sense with what I'm saying, but that is something I am consciously working on, to just, you know, ask myself like, hey, how do I feel about this, rather than looking at it and going, wow, that's really garish, you know, which it kind of is, but I, like I said, would prefer it because it's got life to it. I'm going to leave that little bit of yellow there because I think it adds, you know, some kind of personality. Okay, you guys, I am going to let this completely dry and then I'm going to come back to it. But first I'm just going to add just a little bit of color here. I don't want it to bleed into the background. Okay, and we're just gonna leave it because I think it's gonna bleed into the background. Okay, you guys, so if you've watched all the way to the end, thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.